Oh my man. Oh, just wait. What?
I call them supportive acquaintance. That is level 1. Supportive acquaintance. They when you succeed at that level 1, they will rejoice with you. Those people use kindness as strategy. They are there for you in your time of need. They pay your school fees. You need help. Whatever, they are there. Even the help you've not even contemplated that you need. Emotional intelligence can be a tool of manipulation. These guys are very sophisticated with emotional intelligence. They know how to regulate their emotions. You don't see the expression of their anger, their hurt, their feelings. They can regulate it. They are very sophisticated and animated when it comes to emotional intelligence. I have stories though. In fact, I just remembered one. And I'm going to say this without any fear of anybody.
Oh boy.
The 4th level is that hostile adversary. When you have discovered who they are and they know that you have found them out, they go all arms, hostile adversary. The hostility, they will do events, they will not invite you. These people, if they say one word, because they are believable people, they are usually powerful people. People can believe them and not believe you. They can kill you. And I don't want to scare people. They can kill you. Especially if you have gotten to a level whereby you may take their influence and their source of livelihood away. You have it in your family.
Don't even go far. Don't even bother to me in your family.
Right in your family. Of a 19-year-old girl who came up to confess that she lied against her father, that her father raped her when she was 8.
What?
The guy was in prison for 10 years. Her mom, the girl's mother, his wife, wanted to leave the husband and go and run away with her boyfriend. So she now got her 8-year-old child to lie on the father that he raped her. It shows you that people don't think you deserve to look good. They don't think you deserve to wear this kind of suit, or people just don't think you deserve it.
You're just going to leave it like that. Explain yourself. I'm supposed to start interpreting scripture.
The work of every man will be tested. Time is a proof.
I have suffered at the hands of enemies who pose as friends. You know, people who are close to you, who you think are your friends, but are actually killing you. And I'm willing to bet I'm not the only ones. You know, these frenemies who are just injuring your life and damaging you. My guest today is a leadership and behavioral expert who speaks to the matter, talks to us about how to identify these people in our lives and how to deal with them. You don't want to miss this one because all of us have them. But before we go on, I have just one favor to ask you. Oh, okay. 2 favors actually. First of all, please subscribe to this channel if you're not a subscriber yet. The back end tells us that, look, there are many more people who watch than there are people who subscribe. And we really want to bring the biggest guests to you. We want to interview the biggest guests. And the bigger the channel, the bigger the subscriber count, the more we're able to attract the biggest guests. Okay, say we have 1 million followers. If we tell a prospective guest that even if only 20% of our subscriber base watches, that's 200,000 views. So it attracts, the guests to the show. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not done so. The second favor is related to the first. Please share this video with somebody, forward it to somebody, send it to somebody so that they also could become a potential subscriber. Thank you very much. And now to the show. Speaking of, if I had to introduce you formally.
Okay.
If say I had to do a formal introduction, then I would say that you are one of the foremost leadership experts.
I got a report on that recently.
Really?
I'm telling you.
You're one of the, well, actually, I was going to say, you're
in
one
terms
of
of
the,
my thought leadership writing. You know, you and I have discussed these things before.
Yeah.
Was it last year or 2 years ago? the thing, oh Lord Jesus, I need to track that thing down. In terms of content, so what led to it was that the University of Oxford.
Yeah, I'm recording already, by the way.
Are you serious? Yeah. In partnership, okay, University of Oxford.
I guess you want to tell me something.
In partnership with this top school, Said Business School and all of that, sent me an invitation. We're only just 2 Nigerians or so. But I now noticed that they copied the editor-in-chief of one of the Nigerian newspapers in the whole okay. And one of the reasons why they invited me, and it's in the UK, one of the reasons why they invited me for that whole conversation was because of the volume of work that had emerged on the African continent on leadership. Because of my column that I write every week here, The Leadership Factory with Toye Sobande, over the last 4 or 5 years, I generated a whole lot. So when they look for people with expertise in the field, I just literally come up. Then the partnership that I had with some American professors in their book, there was a section I was asked to write on followership. So I use Yoruba philosophical wisdom to develop frameworks. That is my expertise.
That's your expertise?
My expertise is in strategic leadership.
Okay.
But within my expertise, my specialty is that I use cultural wisdom, cultural norms and nuances, especially because I'm
Owe and Proverbs.
Owe and Proverbs.
Really? So you know a lot of them?
I have to. They resonate with me.
Really? Because when we talk, you don't tell me. Is it that you think that this one is lost? You can never learn.
Like, Owe has been the guiding point for my life.
Really?
Yeah.
So okay. So what would be your favorite proverb if you had to? Because there are quite a few.
My favorite one happens to be the most important ingredient of my leadership expertise.
Okay, what was it?
Eshinwaju ni teyin wo sare.
Okay.
My mom says it a lot.
So you translate.
I didn't know jack about what it means in those days. Meaning, the horse, if there are horses, running, the horse behind, the pace, the speed, and the activity of that horse is determined by the one in front of him. Meaning, if you and I are riding a horse and you are in front, the horse I am riding will tailor its speed after the horse in front of him. Okay. So I just adapted it to leadership influence. That leadership is influence. Do as I do, not do as I say.
What I get from that is because there's something known as the deep. Mm-hmm. Is the book I'm reading. It's called The Deep by
I have the book.
you have Gordon. Exactly, Seth Godin, right? Yeah. So it's a very funny book. There's a dichotomy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, look, stay with something and don't quit. Who doesn't know that? Everybody knows that, right? But on the other hand, you need to quit often.
Thank you.
Quit every other thing.
My leadership coaching for business executives or career professionals who are stuck, who are in that position, I help them develop exit strategies. Okay,
so what I was going to ask, what's your own deep? Because apparently you stayed, because what you said was from this accumulation of materials that you've been writing for quite a few years, people are now reaching out to you and you are now the authority in the area.
Top 3%.
Yeah, top 3% in Africa.
In Africa right now.
So what was the deep for you? What was the difficulty in surmounting that to get to where you are now one of the
it's because
leaders?
Of my journey through leadership, both at the home front and at the workplace. For example, my dad is the most important role model in my life. And after my dad, at the point, I looked up to my siblings. And one of my siblings stood out. The initial books that I read in my life, as far back as in 1992 or 1993, my brother, who is a medical doctor, who is also a resident here in the US, is also a special, he has expertise in pulmonary medicine. Give me a book titled How to Win Friends and Influence People. So when I started my journey, my concept of framework of understanding leadership was from a positional perspective, responsibility. But it didn't occur to me that when I was taking up responsibilities, when I was watching people take responsibility and trying to emulate or replicate them among my friends in primary school, I was developing my leadership capacity. So in primary school, my friends and I came together. We founded what we call the Golden Crown Club. Golden Crown was a restaurant in Obanikoro in Lagos, close to Obanikoro Estate. So we saw the restaurant, newly built, was green color then. We now did an announcement, just about 4 or 5 of us. We used to read the book called The Famous Five. So we now, instead of saying we were Famous Five, we now formed the group called Golden Crown Club. So we're doing charity project. We will use the Golden Crown Club to raise money to go and give the less privileged. We didn't know what we were doing. So my job then was as chairman. We had president, we had chairman. I was the one that drafted constitution. I started saying, because in my dad's library, my dad has a massive library. I pick books. One of those is Nigerian constitution. I was in primary school though, in Maryland, Lagos. So I drafted constitution. I would draft things then, because we have a family tradition of Christmas celebration where we will kill a ram, we will share food. I saw it as an opportunity to leverage the Golden Crown. So I replicated what I was doing with my friends in school. I replicated it at home in my community with my friends. So we're doing the same thing. We'll collect Christmas money on food and go and give it to less privileged families or families that we know were in need. Gradually, I didn't know I was taking responsibility and gaining influence by the things I was learning, because I was seeing people come to my dad's house, prostrate, show him reverence, show him honor. They will hold meetings. And I would listen to those conversations, discuss about the Awolowo politics, what is going on in Nigeria. And interestingly, those days, my mom had stacks of newspapers from the 60s that I used to read. Those things started influencing my thought. I was reading one of the first set of autobiographies that I read was Chief Obafemi Awolowo's autobiography, Awo. I read all the wisdom books. I read Why We Struck to understand what happened with the Nigerian coup, how it happened. I read Ojuku's book because I'm involved. I read Nnamdi Azikiwe's book, The Odyssey. I even read a book about Hitler and the World War. They were all in my dad's library. My dad loves reading. All of those things culminated for me as a dip when I was growing up, because when I was now in school, I was finding myself taking responsibility to serve as a prefect, either as a timekeeper, as a social prefect, as a head boy, whatever. And I took that to social cultural organizations on campus, whereby I was a member of the Press, Literary and Debating Society. I was debating for the school. I was representing my schools in competitions around Lagos. And we were winning. We came first. In fact, I remember the first one was during the Babangida era, shortly before the election, where they were clamping down on newspaper companies and all of that. And some of the publishers of the likes of Tell the News were in one of the panel that I featured as the supporting debater. And I remember vividly, the title of that topic for us to debate on was The Falling Standard of Education. And I had to craft 4 things of why I thought was the reason for the falling standard of education. Why? From conversations from my dad and my mom. My dad was Secretary of Education at the time. He was the director in charge of the education district. So when I listened to those conversations, I listened to conversations where they were talking about the quality of teachers that were coming in, teacher training, the quality of leadership. Those things, I was sipping it in, and I was doing courses on civic education, social studies in school. And the books that I was reading, the books my brothers were reading, the books that my dad were reading, the books, the newspaper is in those days, they were shaping me gradually, forming my opinion. So I identified one of the first, places where education starts is the family, society, institutions, government, and I used it as a debate, and we won. That kind of exposed me to a world of possibilities, to know that I carry something.
Yeah, but why wasn't that something? Because what you have described, you have described if I heard this just out of context, I'll be like, you have described the origin story of a politician. Yeah, because you've described because if you're given to leadership, doesn't it follow that you should have run for office from?
To be honest, that kind of came up.
Yeah.
But my dad said something to me when he was registering, when it was, when the military left and they had to form new political parties. He told me he registered me for some of those political parties, but he felt I was too young and he did not want the value system he's raising up with to be corrupted by an early exposure to politics. As a very young child, I left the house without anybody knowing to go and watch an hour campaign several miles away. I was very little. I still remember that there was no light. We were using lantern. That was in the second.
What time was
Shagari.
What time was the
1983.
Campaign? What time of the day was the campaign?
It was in the evening.
Okay, so what?
It was in the evening around 6, 7. I think I just disappeared from the other.
Oh, just to be curious. Of course, we had electricity, but Even back in those days, we had no light.
With no light.
They are taking light.
Yes.
Even back, we're talking what year now?
This one should be in 82, 83 or so.
82, 83.
Yes.
So even back then,
83.
because we had lanterns too.
Yes, we had
We call them atukpa.
No, we had atukpa. Where we pour kerosene.
Yes,
and
atukpa. You open that small metallic cover with the chain. The chain doesn't.
Lantern is the luxurious end.
Yeah.
Atukpa is the common man's. That one is in every home.
Yeah. Because all of a sudden I remember that thing. There's something on the side. You push the lever. Then the globe, the glass globe goes off. Then you prime the wick.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to change the wool when it is weak or dirty or black and wash the glass.
We've never had light. It's amazing. It's like 982.
It was. So I was exposed to the political climate early enough. And I had people say exactly the same thing you have said to me, that, oh, why didn't you venture into politics? Why didn't you venture? And mind you, I did at the point, because I ran for student union government and I won. When I was at the Polytechnic, I ran for student union government.
Oh, you were a student union?
I was a student union leader.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
If I went to the university, I had to go to a polytechnic first. And I won. In fact, I was a club chief. We founded a club called the Paysetters, where social groups were the ones organizing the pageant events on campus. We're doing so. I was also the editor-in-chief of a magazine on campus called The Pathfinder. So I had the platform and the influence within the political sector. And I was invited to come and run.
Oh, so with all of this, how did you end up being? So I'm still thinking.
So how did I end up being?
How did you end up being the personal assistant to one of the most worshipped pastors on the African continent? Because I'm thinking that
is part of the story a lot of people don't know. People, I understand. And in this case, you're talking about Dr. Sam Adeyemi.
Yeah, Dr. Sam Adeyemi, yes.
Yes.
Because you were the door to the man in Daystar Christian stuff. Was that 10 years?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
But I've known him for more than 25 years. He's been my mentor. He's been my leader for, if I'm not wrong, since I was a teenager. It's close to 28 years now.
Oh, so at the end of being his PA, I mean, I don't see the trajectory.
It was a tough decision. I was in Europe at the time. I was living in England, completed my master's, preparing for my PhD. Because, my career trajectory is funny. I started out as a legal practitioner. I worked in a law firm, moved across to other law firms, worked, and I felt it was time for me to develop myself. I had a pact with my dad that I was going to go abroad to, do my master's and do my PhD. So I left. I told Dr. Sam about it before I left. I, had access to him because when I was on campus on Obafemi University, I used to be the president of fellowship, and I used to invite him over to come teach and preach for us. So the relationship had been there. In 2001, 2002, he had come to do that with Pastor Toye, because both of them were the influential people in my life at the time as a young person growing up. So while I was abroad, it's interesting. I was preparing for my PhD program. I fell into a sleep. And in that sleep, I was in Reverend Sam's office, and the office looks like as if it was under construction. And he was looking busy and saying to me, Toye, don't be upset with me. I've been very busy. I've been busy with schoolwork. I've not had time to respond to your text message. In fact, I've been wondering. So I was not telling him the challenges I was experiencing with doing my PhD. And he was saying, he said, Toye, why about you coming to join us to do ministry? Whilst you are still planning this PhD thing. And without waiting for my response, he brought out something that looked like a token and he pressed it. He said, look at this number. He said, use this number. Anywhere I am in the world, you can reach me. And he handed it over to me. Guess what? From that dream, I woke up and I looked at the TV. Guess what was on the TV? It was a ransom on KICC television in England. I was living in England at the time. And I panicked when I saw the dream. I don't dream naturally. And I know me, when I dream, it happens though. I don't dream naturally. But I know how God speaks to me. I know how I receive revelation. I panicked. The first person I contacted was Pastor Godman Akinlabi. I texted Pastor Godman. I just had this dream now. This is the dream I had. I saw Reverend Sam in my dream telling me that this PhD thing, is this saying that I should forget the PhD? I shouldn't do my PhD or what? I was trying to interpret the dream. Pastor Godman told me to calm down. That it may not necessarily mean that. It may mean that God is calling your attention to ministry. It may mean that God is calling your attention to this and that and that and that. I was worried. I couldn't tell Reverend Sam anything another. Guess what? A few weeks later, or maybe a few months later, Reverend Sam texted me. exactly the same words and said, hey, Toye, sorry, I've seen your text, but I've been very busy with schoolwork and blah, 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 blah. And, I left it at that. I felt it was too good to be real. Then I knew there was something coming up. So I went into a period of fasting and prayer, asking God, what is it that he wanted me to do? So I sensed that I was to return to Nigeria, suspend my PhD, return to Nigeria, but to go and do what? Then one day I had another dream. I was at the airport and I saw Fela Toye was going back to Nigeria. And I said, and I remembered an opportunity Fela gave me, wanting me to work with him as far back as 2008. But when Fela called me that day, it was the same day I was resuming to go work in Mr. Toye Subao's law firm. I was just going to resume. It was a tough choice. I've always wanted to work with Mr. Toye Subao because he was a lawyer that I admire, and I was trying to develop my career expertise in the field of intellectual property at the time. So it was a tough choice. But I said, you know what? I'll go for the law firm. I need to develop my capacity as a lawyer. So so when that dream of Fela came up and I was sharing with him, for me, I interpreted it as an opportunity for God to restore the opportunity for training, for coaching, and for learning. So to cut the long story short, I returned back to Nigeria, started a law firm of my own, started taking up gigs for organizations. I started doing, work for other companies as either corporate secretary or some other things and litigation. Then boom, I found myself in Honeywell. One of those days, it was a few days to my birthday, and I was asking God for a birthday gift. And God was asking me, so what would you give me? And I told him, I said, look, I will use my gift for you. I just need a platform of expression. This is where I'm sensing my life is going to be. So I got this phone call from one of the pastors in Daystar who was in charge of HR at the time, that Reverend Sam wanted to see me. And I wanted to see me the following day. I was like, okay. So I had work to do and all that. I agreed. So I moved things around, went to his office. Exactly what I saw in the dream, maybe a year or two before, was what was repeating itself. Busy environment, and was sharing some things with me. Apparently at the time, he was doing a leadership program at University of Exeter. He was doing his master's in leadership at University of Exeter at the time. So we were discussing that, and I was discussing my plans for my PhD, what I want to do, and he was sharing his own plans with me about his PhD and all of that. And he gave me that opportunity, let's work together. Let's do these things together. I have a lot. I can leverage your legal expertise. I can leverage your ministry exposure and experience. And that's how I ended up.
So let me be clear.
Me, it wasn't a job.
So Pastor Sam, essentially, you didn't apply for the job.
I did. I have to, of course. You have to, with Daystar, you have to follow process. You have to do all of that.
No, had you done the application and then he now saw your
6
application?
6 months. He told them what he told me was that when they brought the application to him and he saw my name, he said, leave this one aside. He said he told them to remove my name from the group, the entire group. And so, of course, I went through the process. I wrote an essay. I wrote interview. I did all of those process standard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you became a speaker and all that. So
yes.
Here's my thing. Becoming the PA to, as I said, one of the most worshipped pastors in Africa, right? I mean, it's one of the biggest. That's a powerful. First of all, let me clarify when I say worshipped.
I understand.
According to his own admission, to his own admission, when I even interviewed him, people want to worship their leaders, regardless of how the leaders feel about it, right? So being PA to such a big pastor in our climb and our environment is a big deal. The people will respect political leaders / military men. And I think behind that, pastors. I'm not even saying religiously, pastors,
naturally.
Especially today.
Yeah.
So being the PA to one of the biggest pastors was, the way it works is you would have been almost as important as the man himself. Since you are the gateway to the man, people seeking the favor of the man will be seeking your favor as well, being nice to you and all of that. That's to cut it short, that's a powerful. I know, for example, back in those days, that whenever I wanted to reach the man, I had to reach you.
Yes.
And just in case you were wondering if I really liked you. Now that the years have passed and we're still friends, you can see that it was you I liked. But then you might have doubted, right? So, but why would you leave such a lucrative position? Why not die there?
A lot of my friends were upset with me. That PA, do you know what you carry? You have a master's degree. I had 2 masters in law. One from University of Lagos, one from University of Buckingham in England. I practiced as a lawyer. Why would you go to reduce yourself to? Do you know what it means to be a PA I heard all sorts of things. From close friends and all that I didn't even share with anybody at the first, but they got to know. And they were like, why would you make such a decision? You have a thriving career ahead of you. And interestingly, I just got promoted at work to the group manager at the time. And I was being, prepped to, rise to the top as a company secretary. I was close to my ED, we were friends. My boss, who was the company secretary at the time, really loved me. Then, of course, I had some other personal things going on for me. But for me, I felt it was an opportunity and a privilege. That's how I saw it. I didn't see it as an opportunity for power or to arrogate any sense of importance. To the glory of God, my self-esteem would not have been hindered or enhanced by that position. And some people even get upset when they hear the word PA. You're not a PA, you're a chief of staff. And that's what is recorded. Some people have different perspective about it. But for me, it was a humbling opportunity where you are not arrogating power to yourself, where you'll be treated as a doormat. And like you rightly pointed out, more than 90% of people who befriended me because of the position. And I always say to them and say to people around me that it would have been foolish of that animal who Jesus rode on to enter into the city, and people were clapping, hailing, and putting precious things. And for the animal to be wondering, why are people praising me? It would have been foolish of the animal to think that all those adulation was for him, not knowing that it was for Jesus. That was the number one thing I was mindful of from the first day, because it was a very, very spiritual job. So you are the first point of attack if anybody wants to spiritually attack somebody.
What does that mean? All right. Thank you for watching thus far. And this is not the end. We'll continue after this. I just want to say thank you to the partners of this podcast who bring it to you. What you'd call our sponsors is Lightforth. Lightforth is your online solution for job applications in 2025 and beyond. If you're a person who's in the job market, Lightforth is the solution that not only trains you in the job, whatever the job, Lightforth helps you to prepare your resume to make sure that it is compliant according to the industry standards, and also helps you apply for the jobs. In addition, Lightforth also prepares you for the interviews, does the interview alongside you, and gives you all the back end information. So essentially, just think of yourself as having another self, an avatar that can do all the job applications for you and knows every single job, every single vacancy in your field, and can tailor your resume and your application to every single job while knowing every single answer to every single job. I mean, that's just amazing. It is said that it takes an average of 20 minutes to properly apply for just a job. Lightforth does it for you in seconds. For that whole 20 minutes, Lightforth will apply to over 100 jobs for you and beyond. To learn more, the link is in my bio. Just look for the link where it says Lightforth app or Lightforth job application. Thank you, Lightforth.
You cannot afford to be the weak link.
As those
it's
things,
spiritual responsibility.
Those things like exist spiritual attacks.
Let's not even.
No. Let's go there, because I struggle. Look, and I know that I'm saying this mindful of the fact that many people will watch this, and coming from where we come from, it sounds naive.
Yes.
I mean, which kind of African doesn't know that spiritual attacks exist, right? So my asking it sounds almost naive as an African, but having now had the privilege and the humbling experience of living abroad for a couple of years now, I begin to really doubt. I start to think that we have placed too much emphasis. Maybe it's our belief in those things that make those things actually potent. Because how is it that these spiritual attacks and these jazz, as we call it, and these, as our people call it, ogun, how come it never affects the white person? If you are a black person who works for a white boss in America or even in Nigeria, jazz has never caught, voodoo has never caught a white man anywhere in the world.
True. Because in this Western world that we are in, spiritual things are more of orthodoxy. For us, it's orthopraxy.
Okay, you are looking for trouble now. I consider myself pretty knowledgeable. I have no idea.
Orthodoxy means the knowledge, the body of knowledge in terms of the doctrine.
Yeah.
For us in orthopraxy, it's experience. It's experiential for us. Here, faith is backed by knowledge and wisdom. For us, faith is backed by experience and practice. So when we say spiritual attack, we don't even mean that just alone. Manipulation.
Oh.
Spiritual manipulation. Where somebody can come to you and say, Reverend Sam said I should tell you this, but Reverend Sam doesn't even know the person. Because Reverend Sam did not even say anything about the person. There was nothing even like that.
Oh, so a manipulative person that's spiritual.
Yeah, that's spiritual. Manipulation, deceit, mischaracterization, where you are mischaracterized, misrepresentation, where your words are twisted, where you can exchange a message with somebody and the person will edit the part of what you said and just screenshot another thing to fit into their narrative and misrepresent you with it.
Why is it a spiritual attack? Why is it not a normal physical attack?
Because the spiritual environment, the work Reverend Sam is doing is spiritual. The support I'm giving to him on the job is spiritual. So if you look at it only from just the ordinary, without putting the spiritual eyes into it, because he is in the job of saving souls, and we are contending with somebody who doesn't want souls to be saved. So there are fairy darts going on and about to discredit the work, to be an adversary. And if you are in that scheme, you are also part of the spiritual manipulation. And some people are ready-made vessels for those spiritual attacks. Yeah.
So you had to fend off quite a few of those.
I had to not only fend off. Some I talk about, some I don't talk about. Some I've never even given recognition to.
And we're friends, and I've never heard you tell me one. Of all the hours that we spoke, you've not even told me one.
Because the job requires discretion and confidentiality.
But you said you've spoken about some.
When I speak about it, I spoke about it to God.
Okay.
For the salvation of my own soul, for my own protection. You know, see, it wasn't an ordinary job. It wasn't a job for me. It was ministry for me. It was an apprenticeship for me. I was an apprentice. Some of my friends disagree with those things. I stopped saying those things, but I understand what I was doing. I understand. And some of my friends felt, oh, you stayed for too long. You shouldn't have stayed that long. You had more substance than, but my job was not clerical and administrative work. My job was not to carry Bible. I was a strategic partner to the set man. And when I use that word with all sense of responsibility because of the quality of work that I was doing. It was a highly cerebral work. It was a highly skilled, organized system. And I had to go there to add value to the system. So serving as an assistant was not carrying the Bible and standing behind him and wearing suits. That was not my job. My job required a lot of discernment. It required a lot of research work, a lot of reading, a lot of knowledge. It requires praying for him, praying for his family, protecting him, taking responsibility for him. At a point in time, my wife looked at me and said, that your depth of love for him, your depth of love, he said, you can sacrifice your own life for him. I said, that's the way I said. She was not even talking to me. She was saying to someone and said, the way my husband loves him. And it's the truth. There is no way anybody who is godly or who is sane would doubt my love for him. So, and I say it to people who wants to go the path that I went to, and they asked me, I said, if it was for any reason, I wouldn't have taken the work for anything. All of those apparatus of importance, acclaim that comes with the office was not the attraction point for me. The attraction point for me was that, number one, I felt God called me to go serve with him. Number two, I loved him dearly. Those were the two propelling things that made me take the job and stay the time that I stayed. Outside of those two, I would have left a long time ago. Yeah, I had a sense of calling and I loved him because there were moments of discouragement. There were moments where I was questioning my own future. What is next for me on this job? Where am I going? If I turn 50, if I turn 40 on the job, what's my future like? Nobody's talking to me about the future. Nobody's discussing the future with me. I was assuming the system is primed to help you orchestrate your future. And the Holy Spirit told me, don't be foolish. Nobody's going to determine your future for you. You have to orchestrate your future in partnership with the Holy Spirit.
Okay, so we will get to that manipulation thing in a bit that you mentioned. That struck out for me very importantly. I want to go into that spiritual manipulation thing vis-a-vis I'm very interested in that. But before we discuss that one, so okay, even though you knew and you weren't in the job for the perks, or for the benefits or whatever it was that, the power and all of that.
Yeah. Mind you, I left a higher paying job for that role.
Yes.
I must say that.
Higher paying. But often, we live in a world where visibility is often taking over financial empowerment. If that were not the case, there would not be this number of probably billions of people on social media. There are people who are spending all their lives posting and they get no money from it. But the veneration that you get from the public is more important than... So even though you knew that you weren't in it for all those things, the attitude of the 90%, you said you knew that 90% of people were their relationship with you was because you were the PA to this very
it's just powerful. Human. It's natural.
When you left, did their attitude change?
Because I was let me say this.
Because they no longer needed you to get to the man.
Of course. 4-5 years into the job, I'm very strategic in my thinking. I sat down and was asking God, so what is it for me now? I'm on this job 4 years. Next year is going to be 5 years. What is it? What's the plan? What do I see going? Because as in this time we write goals every year. I have dreams. I have ambitions. I have prospects. I have capacity. I have potential for a lot of things. So I asked myself, so what's the way forward? What's going to happen to me in the next 5 years? What's the future? And I went to meet a gentleman, Nia Disonya, and who used to be a pastor in Daystar, who had branched out and is doing something. And I because he's been an Egbon and an inspiration to me as well, I felt led to walk up to him and I asked him a question. I said, I'm sensing this for the future and I'm preparing, I'm praying, and I'm trying to navigate my way around the future. And I said, I'm not mindful of the fact that this role is not forever. Nothing lasts forever. I'm not going to be here forever. There were people on that role before I came and they've gone. And I went ahead to study the trajectory of their life after they left that office. Because some of them were my friends and they were still my friends. And I saw how they were treated while they were in office, because I used to work as a volunteer in church for Reverend Sam's assistant many years back. So I worked in that office space. So I was familiar with the terrain. And I also know the guy who took over and the guys who were there. So all of them, the three of them, I had a good relationship with them. So I was asking myself the trajectory of their life. What's their relationship with people like? What's going on with them after they've left the position? I did a study of all of them. And near this one, I laughed and he said something to me. He said, I like the way you're thinking. He said, one advice I will give you is don't make friends with people who befriend you because of the office. He said, those are not your real friends. He said, make sure you build a network of friends outside of the office. And you know me, I'm a very friendly person. I had a huge network of friends because I pastored in different places before. So once he said that to me, I just understood that the people who befriended me, who just show up in my office for lunch, who give gifts that I didn't even ask for, and sometimes I have to even, hide some gift or throw some gift away. Or even sometimes I even take it to him to mention it to him. Your friend gave me this, so, somebody gave me this, so I mentioned it to him. I was mindful of that. So my expectations were not unrealistic when I left the office. My expectations were not, I did not think to myself that I would still remain valuable or important in their eyes because I was no longer needed. So I did not have any basis to feel bad or to miss the office. I didn't miss the office for one day because of that. Why? Because my self-esteem was not on it. My self-esteem was not on the acceptance of those people. I had built my self-esteem. So what percentage would you say of the people you knew, who you thought were your friends, suddenly changed once you were no longer in office? There were people like that.
Was it most of the people you knew, or was it some of people you knew, or just a few of people you knew? Because I asked this because I remember I've spoken to a few politicians. So I remember Dr. Kayode Fayemi,
yes,
twice returning governor of Ekiti State.
Yes,
definitely told me that in the middle, between his first and second stints, he said suddenly, he said the 1st December,
yes,
after he was no longer governor, he said the hampers just disappeared.
Good.
Nothing. I mean,
Yes.
So for him, it was poignant and it was obvious.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking. I mean, is he an exception to the rule? I mean, was it most of people
it
you
was
knew?
it was a similar experience because some people I didn't even know would send me ampers during that period. That I didn't even know anything. Of course, those material things will not, some people that will normally send you devotion to keep in touch. Somebody that will say they are calling you to check up on you. Of course, all of that stopped. All of that stopped.
Oh boy!
Because I used to get phone calls at odd hours of the day. I used to get phone calls at crazy hours, like all sort of messages and all of that. Of course, all of that. I still get messages till now. It's just that I just abandoned my Nigerian number completely. Yeah. I have an alternative Nigerian number that I use for my end of Nigerian business because I have to talk to clients and all of that. All of those things, I still get people who still, even though they know I'm not there anymore, who still seek my counsel. Loads of pastors still call me. I want to do this for Reverend Sam and I need your advice. Oh, I want to speak to Reverend Sam about this. And, some people became brothers as a result of that. A lot. In fact, as you are mentioning, I'm thinking, some people are saying, in fact, there's a pastor in Lagos who flew all the way from the US. He was on vacation to Miami, and he said he was going to fly from Miami to come and see me and my family here in Dallas. And he did. And my family spent a day with him, a whole day with him, we fellowship with him. That one was beyond just because I was in the office. He loved me genuinely and he made the effort and he was consistent. So how do I differentiate? My data is some people remain consistent afterwards.
Yeah.
They will check up on me, check up on my family. They will check up, so how are you doing? Then some people, of course, they leverage social media to do monitoring spirit, to know where you are. There was a time I was shuttling between Nigeria, England, and the US. And some people, what are you doing? It's not in doubt what I'm doing because they see my face in the newspaper every day. They see me on TV in channels. They see me on STV. So when I left, the transition was not, there was no, is it vacancy or how do I say, there was no vacuum. Because when I was leaving, I started work immediately. I was on TV, in different TV, Arise News. I was on channels. I was doing a lot of things. I was organizing a school of governance. I was doing entrepreneurial training for entrepreneurs. I was doing coaching. So I was in newspaper, granting interviews, writing articles. I did a book launch. So there was no vacuum at all. So because there was no vacuum, I didn't have any opportunity to begin to have a sense of doubt as to who my friends were, who was genuine, who sought me out, who didn't seek me. I didn't have because I was busy.
Yeah, let's be on record.
Yes.
Let's be on record that I was one of your good friends.
To be very honest, I wanted to make that the last one.
Let me on record.
In your own case, I didn't have a doubt as to my friendship with you. And it was not because, Teju is a superstar or anything, or no. It was not. It was real. You recall at the point in time that I was always checking up on you.
Oh yeah, you came to look for me when I was during my lost years. I've had those lost years where you hadn't seen me for a while.
Yes.
And you just showed up to our house one evening. I will never forget that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You mentioned though that Dr. Sam Adeyemi had said to you that you saw it both in the dream and it happened. It played out like that in reality, in real life. That look, you're pursuing your masters. He's about to also pursue his in leadership studies. Look, let's work together and leverage. First of all, can we just establish that is not normal? That is not normal. The boss.
It's true.
Oga.
This thing that you're saying, my wife still said it last night. Some people told Reverend Sam, your PA doing PhD. Why would you be allowing your PA to be doing PhD? For what?
In Nigeria, in Africa.
But they didn't know that I actually started that PhD as far back as 2009 January. I was doing the PhD. I abandoned it, came back to Nigeria. Then during that period, I was preparing to go back. In fact, my returning to Nigeria was anchored on the counsel and advice of Pastor Toye. Pastor Toye was the one that prayed for me. And one of those days he called and said, look, he was asking me for updates and I was telling me about the frustration that I was having. And he said, you know what, Toye, come to Nigeria for a while. Just come and work, do some things. You will still go back. He said, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid that if you come back, you won't go back. You still go back and do your PhD. And that kind of just resonated when Reverend Sam said, look, the opportunity there. It's rare for someone like him to be interested in your development. Some people are not interested. They spoke to him and discouraged him. Why would you allow your PA, Lasson, to be doing PhD under your nose? What is his job?
You knew they were having those conversations with him?
I knew. I knew.
Were those people saying it hoping you would not hear, or they were saying it so that you would
those
hear?
things are said open. No, there were some that I heard. There were some that were documented. There were some that were recorded when some people were having conversations with people. And those ones, it was a voice chat. I heard that. But I don't allow all of those things get to me.
Wow.
I didn't allow all of those things get to me.
Man, to have been in your head, because religion fascinates me a lot in our country, especially of the Christian type. For example, I've always wanted to ask you, right? And just occurred to me now. I don't know why I've never asked you, because it's an enduring fascination of mine. I'm very curious. I have no doubt. I mean, there is no doubt. It's not me just saying. There's no doubt that there are, for want of a better word, what we call guy men pastors out there, fake pastors. I mean, they are no, and the fact that somebody is fake does not in any way mean that they will not have a huge ministry. At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
True. But it seems that the thinking of most of our people is that for this person's ministry to succeed, it must mean that they are real.
Yeah.
That's how most people think about it. Because the convention is that it is God that calls you into ministry.
Yeah.
And if God calls you into ministry, then if the ministry succeeds, it is God that has made it succeed. I don't believe that at all. At all. I believe if you understand the rules of power, psychology, manipulation, and all of that, you will grow anything, especially in ministry. So, I mean, I'm asking you, I mean, I would love if you mention names.
Okay.
You don't have to mention names.
Yes.
Are there people whom you know, whom you suspect for whatever reason, because it seems you're highly sentient and spiritual, that this ministry is not, no, this one is fake. Big or not, this one is fake. I'm just asking you to validate my own.
It's what the Bible says now. By their fruits you shall know them.
So what are the fruits that will let you know that this ministry is fake?
God says every man who builds, that their work will pass through fire, and the fire will test it. He said the one whose work get burnt by fire will know that it was not real. The one that endures, they will know it's real.
You're just going to leave it like that. Explain yourself. I'm supposed to start interpreting scripture.
The work of every man will be tested. Time is a proof of what will last. Okay, there was many years ago, there was a pastor, many years, I was doing crusade and miracles all over Nigerian stadium. And it was the first pastor that was moving around with convoy of police, siren and everything. Where is he today? If I mention his name, you will know.
Well, you can mention his name.
Amunzi. Where is he today?
Amunzi, who was
Amunzi. Yeah. Where is he?
I have no idea.
Exactly. He's faded out. It was the same thing that was said to the disciples in the Bible. When Gamaliel was talking to the people, was it Gamaliel who was saying that, look, some people are reasoning like this and they faded out. If this thing is real, if this gospel is real, it will last. If it is not, it will fade away like the others.
Oh, that's the test, eh? If a ministry is real, if a church is real, don't worry about, just give it time.
Yeah.
It will fade away.
Yeah.
But I mean, that cannot be exclusive, because some things that are not real to sometimes last.
It does. God uses his purpose. He uses things like that for his purposes. And sometimes those are part of the questions I ask for. This is my own thinking. So let me, this is my own thinking is that that same thing, by their fruits you shall know them. I believe you quoted that, right? My own is this. The way I think about it in the Omoluabi thinking, like my people in Najawa will think. I think in Yoruba that. Exactly.
Do they need to tell you if you have a man of God who is showing off a lavish lifestyle, showing off Lamborghinis, Ferraris, showing off watches, Richard Milles, Rolexes. I mean, so do they need to tell you? So this is a ministry that is supposed to be based on the teachings of Jesus.
Of simplicity.
Of simplicity. So
modesty.
Modesty. This is Jesus, right? They need to tell you that the person who is showing off exotic cars and Lamborghinis, so they need to tell you that there's something wrong there. So you tell me, am I wrong? Am I just being... am I jealous?
No. I'm of this opinion that who is he that judges another man's servant? The master he falls or he stand. That's what the Bible says. Who is he that if somebody claims he's God's servant? I wasn't there when God called him, or I didn't know whether he was one that called God, whichever one. But I just found out that Apostle Paul was saying it's been said that some people call the name of Jesus for profit. He said whether they call it for profit or not, he said I don't care. What I care is that Jesus is mentioned, that Jesus' name is proclaimed. That's the attitude of some people. Some people also say, hey, for purposes of perception management, we should address this issue. We should call it out so that people will not be deceived. But I am more mindful of the words of Jesus, that in the last days, many will come in my name, proclaiming my name, doing all sorts. He said it. He said, but you must understand how to recognize the voice of the shepherd and not the voice of the hireling. So in this case, who am I to judge another man's servant? But what I know and what I learned from the lifestyle of someone like Dr. Sam Adeyemi, the modesty, the simplicity, how you exercise power and how power and restraint is juxtaposed at the same time. That's exemplary. I'd rather focus on that than bother my head about those people. But that's where the problem is. The people, there will always be people who will be attracted to those flamboyant lifestyle, and they think that's the proof of the gospel, but that's not the proof of the gospel.
Yeah. What is the proof of the gospel?
Transformation of lives. Once I was young, I used to speak as a child. Now I am old. I speak maturely. That's transformation.
But look, you are going down a rabbit hole here, because I say with all humility that I do not see most lives transformed by the church in our part of the world.
I agree with you.
Oh, you agree?
I agree with you. I have my theological leaning on that. I agree with you. Yeah.
I don't see lives transformed. In fact, I don't see thought processes transformed at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And it's because of the kwashoko meals or kwashoko diet that is coming from the pulpit. Men are more after itchy messages that itch their ears. The me, myself, and I. Gospel that, okay, culturally, we are transactional. So when we receive the gospel, our orientation, the framework for accepting the gospel for us was transactional. I will serve God, I will give my money to him, then God will bless me in return. He will heal me. But that's not the entire truth.
So culturally, is that so? Are you saying that is our culture?
Yeah.
Or was that inculcated into us?
We projected our cultural orientation into the gospel.
Where did we get that from, that culture?
Because our culture is largely transactional. It's the same way we relate with our politicians. The politicians will say, oh, I will give you pipe-borne water. I will tar your road for you. Just vote for me. Have you watched the campaign, the trajectory of the politicians and their campaign policies? It's all things that are supposed to be normal, that are supposed to be a giving. They make it look as if it's a gift. They make it look as if they are doing something special. Today, every governor, every politician will upload pictures on Twitter and social media of community projects that they are doing. Senators, House of Rep will be showing you lab centers for this, that, and that, and that to show that they are working. That's not actual governance. Those are normal things that should be done. That's not the parameter for measuring governance, but it's transactional. And it's the way the political system is run. So that shows you that's the mental orientation of our people. And our conceptual framework will determine the output we get, either politically or in terms of the religion we pursue. So we are in a society that is largely people are deprived. There's poverty. People want to break through. The entertainment industry is also helping, because the entertainment industry is projecting that if you don't break through, you die. You have to break through at all costs.
Really? That's what the entertainment industry is doing.
I saw a picture of this boy that follows Mr. Funny. What's his name? Sabinus.
Yes,
the little boy.
Yeah.
I saw a video just 24 hours ago where he said he don't blow because Justin Bieber put up his picture in his story. And because Justin Bieber put up his picture in his story, he don't blow. And the boy did a video, said, I don't blow, Justin Bieber don't put my picture for his story. That's the measurement for success. That's how we determine success. So when you have a framework like that and people watching that, they are thinking, God, when?
Okay, let's be clear. You're saying even so, because what happens a lot, because we can assume that almost all of social media, in fact, it's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And so you see a lot of pastor bashing on social media.
True.
What I'm getting from that is that before you people start casting stones, even you, the entertainment industry, you're telling people the exact same thing, that if you're not successful, your life is over.
Yes. Consciously or unconsciously. And what people don't know is that the gospel is packed by values. And you cannot build a successful society or build a successful lifestyle outside of values. When there are no values, you cannot be valuable. So when in the music that you watch, you remember the scripture says, whatever you see, whatever you hear enters into your heart. And the Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence. Out of it comes all the issues of life. So I sit in front of entertainment movies or music videos, and I see how they are displaying powerful cars, smoking, drinking, pumping champagne, moe, bowling, or somebody, posting pictures of the different countries they've been. The natural man's mind is attracted to those things. I want to be like this. You watch a movie, somebody just got married, he bought his wife a brand new car, and then the conversations, those things are subtle. It's helping shape the heart of the unsuspecting mind, and is infusing some inordinate desires into the mind of those people without consciously knowing it, that this person, there's a lot that went on behind the scene. So what you are just saying on, because they don't even know that maybe some of those movies were, look at the way people do banters over the car Davido buys, or the chain Wizkid is wearing, or the Burna Boy filled out the stadium, who is richer, who is more influential, who has more money. Nobody's thinking like we used to think about King Sunny Ade's music, or Evangelist Ebenezer Obey's music. The values those music pass across to us. There are Ebenezer Obey's songs that I listen to today that have shaped my attitude, shaped my perspective of life. There are some songs of King Sunny Ade that I play for my children because of the messages, the values he passes across, because those values helped me. Those values shaped my orientation. So it was not just entertainment for me. It was a value
you have,
frame.
in fact, King Sunny Ade, I will tell him this when we sit down for another interview, because the impression I got when I was growing up, because we had those two things. Mm-hmm. It was either King Sunny Ade versus Ebenezer Obey.
Yes.
Regardless of how much they said they weren't fighting, we didn't care.
Yes.
You just had to choose a side.
Exactly.
We didn't care. If they like, let them not be fighting.
Yes.
We
were choosing
were
a
fighting
side on their behalf.
And so the narrative was that Obey, if you wanted to learn, you go and listen to Obey. If you wanted to have fun, you go and listen to Sunny. But that was a gross mischaracterization.
True.
Because Sunny, in every single album, if not every single line on lyrics, was dropping wisdom. I mean, the amount of wisdom of Sunny that has helped me. In fact, there's one recently that has helped me, because I used to kick myself a lot. Up until recently, about the mistakes that I'd made, because I made some really silly mistakes. I'd kick myself, and I used to be very hard on myself, self-immolation, self-flagellation, just beating myself up. Why didn't I know better?
Yes.
And then Sunny said in a song that I've been listening to for years, by the way, which is the beauty of these songs. A song you've been listening to for years, and you've been singing the lyrics.
Yeah.
One day, you just catch an epiphany about the line you've been singing for years.
Yes.
King Sunny Ade said, Biko ṣe ni a kì í gbọ́n, ẹnìkan owó sunsun gbọ́n bọ̀rọ̀, òun ló dífá fún ajé tí ń jẹun lẹ́yìnkùlé ọ̀lẹ. That no matter how many books you read, no matter how many videos you watch, no matter how many services you go to,
yes,
there are some things that you will never learn until it happens to you.
Yes.
It must happen to you for you to learn. You can look at somebody and think you have learned, and you have still not learned until it happens to you.
Yeah.
So you're correct.
That's life. Yeah, that's life. In 1988, Sunny came with a blockbuster. Or is it blockbuster or hit? The Merciful God.
You're right. That might be have been December 88 or
December 1988. I remember the Merciful God.
Yeah.
I played the song for my children. Why? Because I'm trying to let them understand the role God plays in our lives. So that when we are praying, we are doing family devotion.
Matika lẹ́yìn.
Adúró gbọ̀ngbọ̀n lẹ́yìn aṣòótọ́. Kò jẹ́ ronú rárá. The Merciful God. That spoke volumes to me, because I'm a product of God's mercy. If not for God's mercy, I would have been dead. My mom, when she was pregnant with me, she had the option of either aborting me or having me. But she said she prayed. I said, and my dad, they told me the story that they prayed that they wanted to have this child. Meanwhile, they had 2 boys, 2 girls already. And yet she said she wanted more. And she chose to give me life. I'm eternally grateful for God.
Okay, that your story doesn't make sense on the surface. Somebody wanted a child, and then when she got pregnant, she wanted to abort the child. What was going on?
There were complications.
Okay, medical.
There were medical complications.
Okay.
But at the time she chose, I want this child. She says it in her story when she talks to me. My dad also says it to me. So I understand that Even my conception was by virtue of God's mercy. My existence was by virtue of God's mercy. The trajectory of my life has been by virtue of God's mercy.
Okay, let's talk manipulation. I wrote that thing. Let's talk. Because you just wrote a piece on your Business Day column, which was a formal version of something you had told me, which you learned from your experiences over the years. It is that essentially our people say, the people of Ajawa, the Omoluabis, they say that inu le lotawa ẹ̀yìn kùlé la ṣe ní ń gbé. They say kòkòrò tó ń jẹ ẹ̀fọ́ ara ẹ̀fọ́ òun ló wà. And they have 1,000 sayings, all which say that your biggest threats, your greatest enemies, the thing that is likely to kill you most is close to you. Your friends, the people whom you consider your friends are your greatest danger. The people whom you would ordinarily consider your enemies, they don't even pose anywhere close to as much of the danger as you think.
Okay.
That there are unidentified enemies who are posing as friends.
Yeah.
And I was speaking with you on that about that one day, and you just ran away with that, and you broke down the 4 or 5 types of frenemies posing as friends. That look, I just thought, I wanted you to work on that and talk to me about that.
It's a Yoruba philosophical wisdom premised on this adage: Ashenibani Daro.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni bàbá mi, Ashenibani. Oh, did I miss out that one? Ashenibani Daro.
Ashenibani Daro.
He who hurts you
and still
comes to commiserate with you.
Yeah.
He's the one who hurt you. Unbeknownst to you, he comes behind and says, "Oh my goodness, what happened?" Ashenibani Daro.
Ashenibani Daro. I've seen that all through my growing years. I've seen that at the workplace. I've seen it in ministry. I've seen it while serving. What people don't realize, the enemy doesn't wear mask. We think the enemy you are suspicious of, or you think the enemy around you has horns, and they are very obvious. They are not. Because even the Bible says that the enemy can come as an angel of light. So enemies can be angel of light. So that Ashenibani Daro concept is so sophisticated that people don't recognize it. They can't identify it because it takes discernment. Now, when I say discernment, I don't mean suspicion, because some people can become unnecessarily suspicious of people around them in the name of discernment. It takes discernment. Now, it takes being broken for you to even now develop the capacity to discern those people.
Oh my man. Just wait. Word. Essentially what I just said.
Yeah.
That there are certain things you will never learn until you suffer.
Yeah, that's why I was smiling when you were saying it.
So you must have.
I suffered it to know it. I experienced Ashenibani Daro on the job and in life, in the family space, in the workspace. If you don't experience it, you cannot discern it. It takes experience to know it. And you may never even know it until after some years. Because the first level of these shadowy figures, of these masquerade frenemies, this framework that I'm developing, the first thing is that they are very supportive of you. I call them supportive acquaintance. That is level 1. Supportive acquaintance. They when you succeed at that level 1, they will rejoice with you. They will rejoice with you. They will be the first person to make the connection. They genuinely encourage you. So that's why you will never suspect them. So that I call them supportive acquaintance. Because sometimes we make a mistake and we presume relationships. We assume relationships. I used to be guilty of it. Somebody said that to me once and I was hurt, that you make assumptions about relationships. I felt that was very good relationship. I connect with people. I open up. I'm vulnerable. I felt that's the way to, make friends. Then I was very naive to think, because I was in the religious environment and I was in the spiritual environment where people are Christians, I felt they were godly minded. I didn't know how sophisticated manipulation works. When we watch The Rich Also Cry and all those soap operas, we are criticizing that. Oh, can't you see this guy is lying to his life? We can watch other people's life and see how they are being deceived and how they did not know. Delomo Isha is stupid. He didn't recognize. Meanwhile, the same thing is happening in our lives without us knowing. that somebody can be manipulating you and you will never discern. You will never know it. The Asheni Banidaro. They are always supportive acquaintance. The next level, when you succeed at that level too, they give you what I call cautious support or cautious love. In the article you read, which how to identify a manipulative leader, I call it love bombing. They bomb you with so much love, you will never see it coming. It's a strategy of warfare, spiritual strategy of warfare, love bombing, so that they will make you second guess yourself whether you are the one that is having a mental problem. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I get this. This is how. So they are loving you, but they are also injuring you. So they are love bombing you, so that every time you want to wake up to the injury, you think of all the nice things they have done.
Yeah.
That this person cannot be hurting me, because when my father was sick, they were the first person there. When I needed money,
for school fees, they gave
me. So every time you're about to wake up to their pernicious act, all the love bombing that they are doing contradicts that.
Yeah. So because for them, kindness is a strategy. Those people use kindness as strategy. They are there for you in your time of need. They pay your school fees, you need help, whatever, they are there. Even the help you don't even contemplated that you need. They are not doing it because of you or because of, they are doing it because of perception management, image management. They are more concerned about their image, how people perceive them, than what they are doing. So kindness for them is a strategy. Being kind to you or being kind to people is a strategy. There's nobody I've not done for. I've given that one money, I've given that one this. I'm very generous. Let people perceive me as a generous person. Let people perceive me as a giver. So that's why I call it the cautious support or cautious love.
Okay.
They might even tell you they love you, but it's a cautious love. It's cautious. They're not giving it the all, and you will never see it coming. So when you succeed at level 1, they are your supportive acquaintance. They encourage you with words. But when you make a mistake of succeeding at level 2 when they did not expect you to, they will adjust. They will love you cautiously. That's why they do love bombing for you. And the love bombing is because they are trying to build a narrative to mischaracterize you in case you become very conscious of what they are doing.
No, I see. So just so just in case you see through the smoke screen of all the love bombing.
Or in case they sleep, or in case information leakage happens and you get to know about it.
Yes. So they can now point to all the things they have done for you.
So when they are telling somebody about you and say, this is what I've been
upon
doing.
All the things that I have, all the things that I have
been doing for him, upon all the things that I have done. They gaslight you. They project things on you.
It's always your fault.
It's always your fault.
Once you bring it up that this happened, it's your fault. They tell you overthink.
They never even tell you that it's your fault, because they are you see, they are so emotionally intent. That's why I'm getting a coaching license now on relational wisdom, because I found out that emotional intelligence can be a tool of manipulation. These guys are very sophisticated with emotional intelligence. They know how to regulate their emotions. You don't see the expression of their anger, their hurt, their feelings. They can regulate it. They are very sophisticated and animated when it comes to emotional intelligence. They are primed in emotional intelligence. So that way, you will not know, you will not see it. It will take the Spirit of God for you to know. And it will take years and time for your discernment to be sharpened, except if God loves you. And if by the great mercy of God, you are protected. And one of the things they deal with the most is information. Information. So when they exchange kindness with you, they're extracting information from you, because information is power. Once they get information about you, that's all. But you will see that when you withdraw and you don't give information, they will show up. And you'll be wondering, how did this person know? They'll be showing up. They'll show up. They'll show up. And they will show up when you are stranded, or when they think you may have been stranded by now. I have seen it happen. I've sat on the board of some corporations, and I'm going to say this without any fear of anybody. I've been serving as a board director, and I was also company secretary at the time, where a gentleman who had worked with the chairman of that board, lovingly, dedicatedly and all of that, resigned to go start his own business in a completely different business. And we were to make a decision on a proposal this guy was to present on the job. And the CEO of the company was saying, your guy who used to work with you gave us a fantastic proposal. And we were to debate and discuss the proposal on the board. Guess who killed that proposal? It was the chairman that killed the proposal and mischaracterized the gentleman on the table. And I felt, okay, I thought these people were close. They were, so.
He mischaracterized his former PA.
No, he was not his PA. The guy was his, what's it called? Was his deputy at the time.
At the time, before he left.
Yes.
So, I mean,
the guy started his own business.
Yeah, submitted a proposal.
The CEO was now having his 50th birthday. We were all to attend. I met this guy at the car park. He said he was just coming in from Germany and all of that. And we're coming for a birthday. He said, I forgot something. No, my guy is around, because he saw his car. And he went back to pick a gift that he bought for his former boss. And when we all gathered at the hall, we were going to sit down. I saw the way he prostrated and gave him the gift, and they hugged and all of that. But the guy didn't know that the reason why he's not going to get the contract he was pursuing was because the person who was supposed to speak for him at the table was the one that was against him on that table.
The same boss he just gave the gift.
The same boss.
And prostrated for.
I knew, and I was looking. I was wondering. I have stories though. In fact, I just remembered one of a friend of ours who met a lady on Facebook, and they started talking. They got close and all of that. And the guy was thinking, this is the girl I want to marry. Sent her to go and meet his parents, his mom, his family. Sent her to the church to go and meet his pastor and everything. And started talking, trying to, get to know the girl's family. Went to meet the girl's sister. One of the girl's sister, the girl lives in Nigeria, the guy is here. One of the girl's sister from Nigeria called the guy about his decision to relocate to Nigeria because of his sister. The guy was willing to leave here to relocate to Nigeria to go and join the wife and join the girl to marry her, and told her that, I want you to have a rethink about this, your decision. Sure, you know that my sister is unstable.
Was telling the guy.
Sure, you know that my sister is unstable. She's a spendthrift. She doesn't know how to have money. She's fickle. And I'm not sure. She had never had a lasting relationship before. Are you sure this is going to last? I think you guys are rushing this thing too much. You should take it easy. Are you aware that she spends money on shoes? She has an obsession for shoes. She has over 250 shoes. Would you be able to, and her taste is very high. Would you be able to sustain this lifestyle? I was there the day she called this guy. Same father, same mother. Same father, same mother.
In the immortal words of Chief Dr. Lando, ẹni ọ̀rẹ́ dà kó má fi ṣèbínú, ẹni abínibí ń dání.
Same father, same mother. That was what led to the guy calling for a meeting to say, you know what, I'm going to come to Nigeria, but I'm not going to relocate for now. Let's take things slow. Let's ease things up a bit. And let's see how things will go. That girl never knew the reason why that guy did not end up marrying her was because of her sister, her own immediate elder.
Oh, he didn't end up marrying her in the end?
No.
Why? Did he find those things to be true?
No, because as they gave him that information and the guy was saying, let's slow down. Let's prime things. The sister was telling the girl that he's not serious about you. If he's serious about you, he will do it now. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh my goodness.
This one is not serious. And the girl made a mistake. Within 2 months of saying, let's just slow down. Let's just spend some time to get to know each other and all of that. Because I've been away. Let's be in the same environment so that we get to know each other. The sister was telling her that, look at this other guy is serious about you. True life story.
How did you all find out that the girl was telling her sister that in the end? Because the girl had to have spoken or something.
Because the guy was genuinely interested in her. So while he was in Nigeria, he still went back and still was discussing that all I pleaded from you was to wait for me. Let's just spend more time, 6 months. That's all. And I noticed that the guy just voiced it out and said, your sister called me and blah, 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 blah. That's how the canon of ones broke up. This is what my sister said about you. This is what my sister said you said. No, this is what your sister said to me. This is this and that and that. And it was unraveled. And that girl, it took her a while. The guy even got married. 5 years later, she had not been married. If somebody had told me that would have happened, it was this own sister that told her. There are many stories. Many, many, many stories.
Okay, so that's the second level. The first level is the supportive acquaintance. Second level is the love bombers.
Yeah, the cautious support. Love bombers. Yeah.
Love bomber. Okay, and then
the next one is advisory rival.
Okay. So if you if you succeed beyond the second level.
If you succeed beyond the second level, they give you advice. But the advice is from the point of rivalry to undermine you. That's what that girl's sister did to her. To undermine you, to undermine everything that you are doing. And you will never see it coming. It's to undermine you. It's to undermine you. They will leverage whatever it takes in their goodwill to undermine you. And it's very sophisticated, you will never know. Because such people have a huge network of influence based on the information you have provided for them. About yourself.
Based on the information that you provided in level 1 and level 2. They now have an arsenal of your information. They are now giving you advice that you are thinking, flesh and blood could not have revealed this to you. Only God could have told you this, not knowing that you were the one who gave them
the information. And I tell people this, that, see, these people, this is the way they give you advice. You know, like the story of the mountain, where people climb mountains. And while you are climbing, they'll throw a rope to you. And say, oh, use this rope, climb up, come up, or use this ladder, climb up, While you grab the rope and you are trying to, climb the mountain to succeed and all of that, they give you that rope. The essence of the rope is for them to help you, pull you up to their level, or to pull you to come and join them. Once you take your leg off the platform where you have found support and you put your entire hand on that rope where you think they gave you support up, and they are pulling you up, putting their resources to pull you up. Once you are away from your own natural support ground, they take a knife and cut the rope.
Oh boy. Look, you can imagine that I have a portrait. I have a portrait of a person that fits this. It's as if you studied the influence of this person in my life.
Yeah.
And then wrote
the script.
This treatise.
Yeah. I know it. Because it's the gift God had given to me on the job. And I found it out, and I've seen it work in different organizations and with different people that I've spoken to. I've experienced it.
Always giving you advice. Yeah. Asking you, so what are you up to now? What are you doing?
What's the decision?
And because we're mostly insecure people, especially when we're
hungry.
Trailblazers, when we're pioneers, nobody has done what we're trying to do before us.
Yeah.
So we're constantly looking for validation.
Thank you.
To know we're on the right path.
Thank you. Because they use recognition to manipulate you. Because of that validation. They do a lot of emotional distancing. You just be wondering, the same person that has been love bombing you, that you have become addicted to their love. They do the emotional distancing. They use that emotion. So at that level, what they do is that they use recognition, your need for recognition, and that's where they now mischaracterize you as being overly ambitious. That's why I call them advisory rival. Because what they are telling people is that King Bono doesn't listen. We've given him advice. We told him what to do. But Toye wants to do his own thing. Advisory rival. They say, they even tell that I called my friend who is the MD of this to do this for him. I told him to do this. Meanwhile, they will tell that one to do this. They are the one. Yoruba.
They're the ones who told the thieves
to come and steal.
To come and steal. Go and steal there.
The one who went to tell the owner
that
to call the police.
That thieves are coming.
They're coming.
They gave the schematics to the thieves and went to tell the bank owners.
Exactly.
That thieves are coming.
Yeah. So they use recognition. Your own quest for recognition, your own need for validation, they use it as a weapon of offense. They are deliberate about not recognizing you. And in a subtle way, they undermine you. They dumb down on your accomplishment on your profile. And it's subtle. Highly sophisticated, highly skilled. You don't see it coming. You never know. The fourth level is that hostile adversary. When you have discovered who they are and they know that you have found them out, they go all arms, hostile adversary. The hostility. They will do events, they will not invite you. They will do meetings that they used to invite you for, and they will stop inviting you. In fact, I missed one part. That advisory rival, they know how to make you redundant by shedding off your influence gradually. Areas of importance, areas of validation that you have. These people, if they say one word, because they are believable people, they are usually powerful people, people can believe them and not believe you. They can say one word. In fact, the first time I heard that thing was Reverend Sam that said it. Powerful people, if they say one thing about you, especially a church leader, if they say one thing about the pastor, it can ruin that pastor forever. And the guy, they will shut doors over him. Nobody will ever do. The day he said that thing, I shook. I'm like, what? And I've seen it happen to people. I've seen it happen to people. So, at that level of hostile adversary, it used to be 5 levels. I reduced it to level 4 because that level 5 is very strong. I call it ultimate death. They can kill you. And I don't want to scare people. They can kill you. Especially if you have gotten to a level whereby you may take their influence and their source of livelihood away. They can kill your career even before it starts. They can kill your business even before it starts. That's exactly what that gentleman experienced. Started a business, started not in the same line of business, and he was now offering services. And they killed him on that table that day.
I'm curious. Are these people, are they mindful? Is it a character? Can we have a person who is this way, in character, but not know? Or are these conscious games and conscious moves that these manipulators are making? Or is it that sometimes it is their character and they are just playing out a script? Because I don't know, are these people mindful of what they're doing consciously?
Yeah, they are. You know how I know? If you go back to the Bible and the story of David, when David started, it was a very humble beginning. David was very humble. He was relationally wise. He was very, low down there, down there, he ticked all the boxes of the good guy. But look at the David when he slept with another man's wife and tried to kill the husband. Look at all the manipulative tactics that David took. Bring him from the war front. Organized a party for him. Got him drunk. Celebrated him. Recognized him. Gave instructions to the military general that they should. When they saw that the guy got drunk, he slept in David's palace instead of going to his house to sleep with his wife so that he will impregnate her and David will be free. Look at all those thinking process David went through to manipulate to get that guy killed. He said, put him in the fiercest part of the war. Then when the war is so fierce, withdraw from him so that he will end up being killed.
Look, are these enemies, is it something that some people have and some others don't have? Do all of us have these people in our lives currently as we speak?
Of course, you have it in your family.
Don't even go far. Don't even bother to live in your family.
Right in your family. In your own household. I just watched a video yesterday and I was showing my wife of a 19-year-old girl who came up to confess that she lied against her father, that her father raped her when she was 8.
What?
In South Africa. The guy was in prison for 10 years. Her mom, the girl's mother, his wife, wanted to leave the husband and go and run away with her boyfriend. So she now got her 8-year-old child to lie on the father that he raped her. Packaged a lot of lies for the girl, manipulated the girl, promised, and the girl lied and it was believed on the evidence of that. The guy was jailed. Now the girl is 19. She's coming out to confess that it was her mother that compelled her to lie because she wanted to leave her husband to go join her boyfriend. And 10 years of that man's life was destroyed. That's his wife and his daughter.
10 years? His life is 10 years?
Destroyed completely.
His life is destroyed.
Because now, how many people who heard then that he raped his own child, his own 8-year-old child? The girl now is 19. It's on social media. I saw it. That's a typical example. How do you explain that?
So we all have these people in our lives.
We have it in our lives.
Okay, since you have said that the only way to know them is to suffer at their hands or to suffer several things.
Possibly.
Possibly.
By the things you suffer, you will learn.
You will learn. So again, so you see that this goes to the fact that there are people who are watching this who will
recognize themselves who will
recognize themselves because they've suffered. Okay, so let me put it this way. So I'm guessing that there are several people who watch this. First of all, are those who will watch this and be impacted by this, but will not know because they haven't suffered it.
Did not suffer it. Yes,
So
correct.
this will serve for you when you begin to suffer.
Then you remember.
Then you remember this. Then there are those who will watch this, who are going through it, and this will be the linchpin,
The light bulb.
the epiphany that breaks the thing for them. That that's what is happening.
Yeah.
Right. Then there are those who have suffered and come through it,
Yeah.
and will now find validation
Yeah.
for what they're going through.
Yeah.
So how do you now? I mean, so this what. So this is I want to know. So when you meet, so having broken off from these people,
Yes.
and this is what I've noticed about them. That enmity that they adopt towards you.
Yeah.
Once you discover their perfidy
Yeah.
and their wickedness.
Yeah.
Once you discover them for who they are, that
Yeah.
enmity approach,
Yeah.
They don't do it close, they do it from far.
Yeah.
Once you cut them off, they also cut you off.
Yeah.
So you don't see them for a while, in fact, for a long time.
Yeah.
So, but they are doing their things,
Yeah.
probably bad mouthing you,
Yeah.
and all of that. And you're doing your own best to get them out of your mind.
Exactly.
Because that's what happens to you. You think about, unbeknownst, you just spend a lot of time.
Bombing had drawn on your own emotional investment, especially if you're an emotional person. If you're a loyal person, if loyalty is a value system for you and you are very dedicated, you can't easily take it away. Some people don't even live your life. They won't go. Because they are so sophisticated to know that if they leave, it will rub off on their own self-image and the perception of people about them, because they don't want to be involved in what happened between you and this person. We noticed you used to be close before, now you're no longer. They don't want that because it's going to open a canon of worms. Image is more important to them. They will do anything to protect their image, so they will stay around you because they don't want anything. Because, for example, if you're a loose cannon, it's bad business for them. If you're a loose cannon, it's bad business for them, especially if they're in the image market, where image is important to their job. It's bad market for them. It's going to ruin their goodwill. And goodwill is the instrument to which they advance their cause. So they don't want you to rub off on that goodwill.
On other unsuspecting victims.
Yeah.
So if you come out saying the things you know.
No. They will even make, that's why the love bombing is there, so that you are unbelievable.
Which is where you now say the fifth level. If you ever come out and do that, they might kill you.
Oh yeah. It's ultimate death.
Okay, so for somebody who's cut them off completely, how is the first meeting, if you ever meet them anywhere?
It's self-awareness of yourself and mindfulness. That's why I caution between discernment and suspicion. That's why I say we're in a spiritual world. You can't be unspiritual. Whether you're spiritual in the church or you're spiritual outside of the church, you must be spiritually conscious. You must be spiritually conscious.
Interesting. Okay, so I mean, I'm just curious. So you know this person in your own life?
I know this person in my journey of life. These persons in my journey of life. I'm approaching 50. I can discern now. I was naive before.
You know, when you said I'm approaching 50 for a split second. For a split second, I forgot how old I was. And so when you said I'm approaching 50, I thought, this guy is old. And then I remembered that we're about age mates.
Yes.
For a split second, I thought I was a younger man. Yeah. So I was like, this guy is old. I'm like, wait, we're about age mates. I'm approaching 52.
It's the reality of life. Now you become wiser. Now I understand why my dad is always quiet and is always looking and staring and thinking. I was watching this movie and my wife and I, we listened to a conversation where the PA of his late father, he just became the Duke and was having a business conversation with some people that were manipulating him. And the PA, he went to seek advice from his father's PA, who is still living with them. And the guy said, don't let them know what you are thinking. He said, keep up the work with them. Keep supporting them, but don't show them, because he was now the victim. But don't make yourself a victim. Now, that's what I'm going to tell our audience right now. If you are going through this right now, never make yourself a victim. Never play the victim card, because that's what they want you to end up becoming.
How does one not play the victim card?
You cannot afford. It's not good for you.
I mean, how does one play the victim card? What does the victim look like?
By reacting and not responding. There's a difference between being reactionary and being
responsive.
Okay,
difference is what?
The difference is your emotions take over logic. You are not strategic. You are now on the offensive. You are now bitter. You are angry. You want vengeance in the name of I want justice. That is being reactionary. You want to defend yourself. You want to clear your name. Then you are now overly, you are now believing the things, you are buying into those, projection. Response is different. Response helps you to review, become, self-aware, become more mindful, develop a more sophisticated skill. And how do I navigate my life out of this? You are more strategic. You are more perceptive. When you hear people say,
look, let me put it the way Chief Commander put it. Yíyọ ẹkùn tó jókòó o, èkúté tó dúró dológbò, ara kú ló yá.
So you
let's translate, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you do the translation.
When the lion,
the tiger actually,
the tiger, sorry, when he's walking, he's
stealthily,
afraid, in a stealth mode, without it's not because he's afraid. The stealth mode is not because he's afraid. It's not because he thinks you're a danger to him. The stealth mode is to wear a new image. No noise. No overtly calling attention to yourself. That doesn't mean he's a coward. That's not what the tiger is suggesting. He's only going after his prey. And one of the things I learned from my father about being responsive is don't make revenge your objective. Don't try to prove anybody wrong. Don't make revenge your objective. Don't try to because if you do that, then that means you are doing tit for tat. And I tell my children, as part of our family vision, we don't do tit for tat. People offend me. People do things against me. I'll never go after them. Don't do tit for tat. Don't do revenge. Be more sophisticated in your own approach.
Okay, so my own once I discovered this, my own thing is what my father used to say. My father used to say it, but I never could put it in perspective until I also went through stuff and suffered.
Yes.
My father would say that that he would give people a long rope until they finish pulling it.
Yeah.
And then when they finish pulling it, it cuts them off completely and leaves them to hang themselves.
Yeah.
It was when I got these experiences that I understood. So what I do is that as well. So I now understood what he meant. When he said he was giving people a long rope, he didn't mean that he was consciously aware of what they were doing.
No.
He meant that throughout all the time they were manipulating him, they were getting the rope.
Yeah.
But that the moment he becomes aware, he cuts them off.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned too.
Yeah.
Once I'm aware of the manipulation, I cut them off completely from all areas of my life. Completely. I do a 360.
Yeah.
So is that just me, or is that the way to deal with these people?
What your dad was trying to say is similar to what my mom says. Meaning the person who thinks is wise will outplay himself. That's what he's saying. They will eventually outplay themselves because the natural laws of life is centered around justice, fairness, and equity. And I mean, if you lie for 20 years, if you manipulate me for 20 years, if you do all the negative things, one day the truth will come out. That's exactly the way it was. It's the natural course of life. So you can ride on that principle of life because the God you serve and you proclaim and worship is a God of justice. He will fight your battle. He said, look, vengeance is mine. He said, don't take revenge. I'll fight your battles for you. So when you anchor your strategy and your response on the fact that, Lord, look at me. Look at this injustice that I'm suffering. Look at what has been done to me. When you anchor it on the revelation that you report the person, you report your experience to God, that's the starting point. Then from that conversation with God, you download revelation from God. You download insight from God on what to do. The story of Joseph is a typical example of what we are talking about. Look at what he suffered in the hands of his brothers. Do you imagine that Joseph would have just ended up in the pit because they just carried him and bundled him? No, there was some manipulation around it. When you read that scripture, there was some manipulation around it. It wasn't just possible that they just dumped him in the pit and sold him into slavery. There was a lot of conversation. I don't want to try to impute or project into scriptures what the scripture did not say. But when I understand how human psychology works and how he ended up in that place and how he ended up being a slave and how he ended up going through what he went through, he would have been so bitter that he would have lost sight of his vision. But he didn't lose sight of this vision. That was his response to the adversary. That was his response to his enemies. So that when he saw them, he said, what you meant for evil, God has used it for my good. That is your own strategy of response. Joseph responded by fulfilling the vision God gave him that his brothers attempted to derail.
Prof, so whenever I do these things, right, I assume that it is normal.
Yes.
That the normal process of thought is that anybody who wants to get in touch with my guest, I mean, in the ubiquitous days of social media in which we live,
yes,
the ready availability of social media, I would assume that anybody will just Google the guest and they will find their contact. But apparently that flies over the head of some people, and I say that with all due respect, don't be annoyed. I mean, if I watch an interview,
yes,
and the person, I mean, I want to get in touch with the person or they interest me,
yes,
I just go on Google and I type their name and I will see. But
correct.
Apparently people don't always make that logical conclusion. So please, how can people reach you?
Interestingly, my contact information is out there on social media everywhere.
I just said the same thing, but it's hard.
If you Google Toye Sobande, if you Google Dr. Toye Sobande, my name will come up. Dr. Toye Sobande, Dr. Emmanuel Toye Sobande. My email is contactme@toyesobande.com, and I receive it live. I will respond.
Okay, great. I thought you were, why are you still doctor? I thought you were a professor.
You know the way we do things around here, even though I have a professorial title, but we don't use titles here. It's the job that gives you the title.
You are not chief doctor.
I'm not chief doctor. You know, Nigerians are very crazy about titles, so that when you get into traffic and you hit the car, you say, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
You know what you know? So, for me, those titles, some people even try to get me upset by calling me Mr. Some people are used to calling me barrister, but some people still call me prof. You do. A couple of friends call me prof because of what I do. Yeah. Anyone, I'm not.
But why are you here, by the way? You just mentioned, you said in this part of the world, this being America, why are you here? I mean, shouldn't you be in Nigeria? You are a leadership expert.
I'm a global figure.
On the African continent. Why can't you be global from Nigeria? Why are you in this United States?
Well, I'm in transition, and transition now at the moment requires that I deploy my skill set in the global space, unhindered, unlimited. God has given a huge platform access across the world, such that I have the opportunity to speak in major international organizations and conferences. I partner with a couple of other professors from other universities to write articles, organize conferences, organize events. So the opportunity of being in this climb gives me access to more than, I don't want to say over 200 countries, where I can assess people, access them, build a huge network across the globe, not just in the Western.
In short, you will be traveling a lot.
I have been traveling a lot.
And this issue of going to queue for visas
is not
going to work.
I'm not in that space.
You can't be submitting to every consulate and embassy and be waiting. It's not going to work.
It's not.
Let's get what allows us go where we need to.
Exactly.
Where we need to go.
Exactly.
So look, I have no doubt that we will do this again. Right, because there's so much that I had to skip by. I tricked you into coming to do this.
Yes,
I tricked you into coming to do this by telling you that I wanted to talk about the power, your power matrix.
Okay, the power matrix.
Yeah, the manipulative matrix. And we didn't even get into it until maybe the 40th minute of this conversation. So
that one is a whole lot. I plan to do some coaching. If anybody wants to do coaching with me on it, I do it. I help people with it. I do personal coaching for people on that, understanding the power matrix, the power dynamics of the environment you're in, whether in the family or it's a paid coaching session. No?
Okay.
You pay for it.
Don't go and think.
It's not free. I do it for organizations because one of my services as a leadership expert is I provide conflict audit for organizations and for individuals.
Okay.
Yeah. Having, what we say about Ijalara,
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni à ń jù wọ́n lọ kò ṣeé wí lẹ́jọ́. Yes, translate this final one, otherwise they won't let me rest.
You see, people will envy you whether you said anything bad or you did not. You don't have to do anything bad. You don't have to say anything bad. People just don't think you deserve the kind of life you have. I remember when I bought a brand new car some years ago, and some people just felt, where did he get the money from? He must be stealing money. No. So I don't even bought the brand new car then. It was for something else completely. It shows you that people don't think you deserve to look good. They don't think you deserve to wear this kind of suit, or people just don't think you deserve it. And you can't fault them because they are projecting their own failures on you. The limitations they place on their life, they want you to, to have that limitation and not, succeed. So I tell people, you are going to experience conflict, you are going to experience envy, you are going to experience a lot of all these battles, but you need to develop sophistication or sophisticated skills to discern and to navigate it. And that's what I
let me just ask this finally. That just occurs to me. At what age? Because one of my favorite parts of scripture is what the great lamenter said. He said that it is good that a young man is afflicted in his youth.
Yes.
Let him put his mouth in the dust and be silent. For God may yet be merciful unto him. For God does not punish forever. His mercies are new every morning.
Yes.
I read that at a point in my life when I was going through it. My last couple of years have been rough.
Wow.
Right. So but my takeaway from all of that is that you will suffer. Suffering in life is not an elective.
Part of me is not an elective.
It's not a course that you can elect. It's a major course, right?
Yes.
You will suffer. So the prayer is that you suffer as a young man. So that you can come out of the suffering and have enough time to implement the lessons that you learned. Right. So at what age is it usual? What is the usual age when you should have suffered the necessary suffering, including being suffering at the hands of these manipulators, and have learned and now be ready to run the rest of your life? At what age should you be? What is the gap? Even though we're all different.
We're all different. Some people are late starters.
Yeah, on the average, if you take it, the early starters, the late starters, on the average, at what age should you have learned these lessons?
The average for me is late 20s, 28, 29, to probably early 40s for some people.
Okay, which is why I guess they say a fool at 40 is a fool forever. Okay, so the way I say it is that, look, circa when you're 40, even going up to 45, you should have learned what you need to know and run with it. Right? You could get it in your 38, but usually, in fact, that's how it pans out for most people, really.
True.
About when you are in your 40s, you should have gotten this thing and then run.
And you are not suffering for suffering's sake. When you have a vision, your vision attracts suffering. When you have a compelling vision for your life, your vision attracts suffering. And I tell people that, look, when successful people get to the top of the ladder, they remove the ladder for other people not to come up. So you have to find a way to jump up the top without the ladder. It's because vision compels you. Vision is so powerful. And I say this is another framework that I have. That vision is so powerful that, number one, vision defines you. It defines who you are. It defines where you go, what you do, how you do it, how you talk, what you say. Number two, vision confines you. Vision places a restriction around your life. Vision places a restriction around who you associate with, who associates with you, all of those things. And when you are looking at those keywords that I've mentioned, that vision defines you, vision confines you, then vision refines you. Vision takes all these crude, dirty things out of your life, shapes your character. That's the refinement. So the refining fire is the suffering. So vision attracts suffering. So that refining process, when the Bible said about Job, that by the things he learned obedience, by the things he suffered. So when you suffer, you are suffering not just for no reason, not because somebody envies you, not because the enemy in the village, not because your neighbor doesn't, not because God didn't answer your prayer. Your vision will attract suffering. That's what happened to Joseph. His vision attracted suffering. That's what happened to David. When David showed up at the battlefield, look at the first people that spoke to him. It was his brothers. They spoke anyhow to him. They mischaracterized him. They said, we know who you are. Even though it was his father that sent him to go give food to them at the waterside, they mischaracterized him. So I say this to people, that these three things, this framework that I developed about vision, that vision defines you, vision refines you, vision confines you. One key word that keeps sounding, the syllables that sound there is the word fine. Vision makes you fine. So for you to become a fine person, these things you suffer is what beautifies your life. It gives your life beauty and glory. It gives you radiance by the things you suffer. You become a fine, sophisticated person as a result of that suffering. That's the purpose of the suffering. So the earlier you suffer, the earlier the better.
So that you can say, as the great writer said,
Yes.
It is good for me
That I have suffered.
that I was afflicted.
That I was afflicted.
It is good for me
Yes.
that I was afflicted.
Suffering is an opportunity for growth.
I can say that now. And then it becomes clear when you see your stupidity, like, why didn't I know?
Yes.
Why didn't I know
Why
this?
was I this stupid?
Why was I this stupid?
Why did I sense this?
So you have to now learn to forgive yourself.
Yes.
Because when you're looking at it on the backside, you're
Exactly.
like, I should have known.
Exactly.
I should have known. I didn't have to suffer.
Yes.
And yet, without suffering, the Omoluabis, the people of Ajawa say,
will not.
Tani teacher. How can you claim to be wise without suffering?
The suffering is your teacher.
The suffering is your teacher. But so you have to learn to forgive yourself on the backside of it.
Yeah.
So, Prof, thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you so much.
We will do this. We'll do this
God
again.
bless you. Thank you for your friendship over the years.
I'm a good friend.
Yeah, I coincidentally saw your picture where you recorded a video for my wife on her 40th birthday. How many years ago?
I did?
Yes.
Mama Daga.
My wife was turning 40. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome.